So, have you ever been watching a YouTube video or receiving guidance from a teacher or guide, and what they say seems completely contradictory and confusing? Well, it could be that their guidance is just rubbish, or perhaps they lack true insight and aren't very skilled at pointing. But sometimes it's because they're using these hidden techniques to awaken you to the true nature of self and reality in what we could call stages. What is said in one stage may seem to completely contradict the next, and yet it can all come together beautifully. Here's a metaphor. Imagine you and your friend are watching a movie. Weirdly, your friend seems to get completely hypnotized by the movie. He's forgot it's a movie and he's completely transfixed on it all, taking it all to be real and being emotionally pulled around by everything that's happening in the movie. So, in order to wake him up from this hypnosis, you have to point out to him that there's a screen. It's just a screen appearing as a movie. Although, because he's so transfixed and focused on all the content of the movie, you have to, in a way, separate the screen from the movie. You have to make a distinction between the screen and the movie so you can say to him, look, there's a screen and it's just a movie. So you're trying to show him the true nature of the movie, right? By pointing at the screen. Then perhaps he sees the screen, wakes up, perhaps breathes a huge sigh of relief. He can now relax back from the movie and clearly see that there's a screen that it's all appearing on. He can now distinguish between the movie and the screen and stop getting lost in all the content of the movie and see that there are two separate things here. But is there? You see, you've introduced your friend to a certain level of truth about what's happening, but it's not the whole truth, it's not the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth is that the screen and the movie are one. They're not two separate things. There's no real distinction between the two. The movie isn't independently real. It's made out of nothing but the screen. It's a single, indivisible appearance. But telling your friend it's not real and it's all one, although ultimately true, probably wouldn't have worked at first to wake him up. You first had to walk him back to a relative truth before the ultimate truth could be revealed. Now he knows there's a screen, perhaps you can now both look even more closely at it and see its ultimate nature. It's not two. So if you've been exploring non-duality for a bit, perhaps you already know where I'm going with this, right? You may hear a speaker say something like, don't focus on all the content of experience, notice awareness. This is because we're often hypnotized by all the content, by all the thoughts, feelings, ideas, and concepts about reality. So we point out that all of this appears in awareness. Ultimately, all the content, even the thoughts and concepts, are made out of nothing but awareness. However, at first, we had to make the distinction, a distinction that isn't really there. But we first had to make it to then later reveal the ultimate truth. In traditional Advaita Vedanta, the roots of modern non-duality, this is called something in Sanskrit that I won't dare to pronounce, which translates to superimposition and then negation. In this tradition, this elegant teaching device is super central. First, a provisional concept is introduced to aid the understanding, the superimposition, and once it's served its purpose, it's then withdrawn or negated. For example, the idea that you are awareness, distinct from the body and mind, is a helpful stepping stone. It helps disentangle the idea of yourself from all the form. But eventually, even that distinction is dissolved, revealing that the body, the mind, and awareness are all concepts, and that ultimately there's just a single, indivisible reality. This process isn't deception, it's a compassionate consent to the seeker. It honors our relative level experience whilst revealing its ultimate nature. So, for example, you might hear me say something like, "You are the silent witness," or "Be the observer." But of course, I know that ultimately there is no separate witness. But it's probably going to be a bit of a stretch to start with. The observer is the observed. I may say something like, awareness is like a space in which everything is appearing, and none of the form can harm the space. And this may help someone access that existential safety, that our true nature is awareness, and awareness is imperturbable. It can't be disturbed. Ultimately, it's a tool. I know that awareness and the form aren't actually two separate things. They are two sides of the same coin, and this is all an infinite field that can't be divided or described. But we make the distinction. We see a deeper truth about ourself and reality as a way to eventually collapse that distinction, to reveal the true non-dual nature. Not two, no separation. So yes, ultimately the screen is the content. The awareness is the awareness of. The formlessness is the form. The observer is the observed. The silent witness is the noise of all experience. The dreamer is the dream. Atman is Brahman. The you is the universe. If you feel called to explore awakening, I have a free mini course called Awake and Embodied Essentials, and the link to that is in the video description. Alternatively, if you feel called to explore awakening on a deep, deep level, I invite you to join Awake and Embodied. Over there, we have the full Awakening and Embodiment course, community platform, and weekly live group calls with me, all to serve you on your journey. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. Peace.